Oh, it's not something I normally do, but when I left today to come here to teach, I grabbed a couple of things to uh, I don't know, to give me some support. One of them is this rock, that I found years ago when I was camping in the Rockies, a town called Marble that actually, um, had been, destroyed in a mudslide. You know, it had been a marble quarry there. It was very high up in the Rocky Mountains. And I was walking along a creek bed, just kind of looking at rocks, and I saw this rock, and and I looked to see if there were any others like it. I couldn't find any others. It has little like moon shapes carved on it. And I thought to myself, oh, there must have been someone like long, long ago who got isolated from their tribe and was marking time, you know, the phases and the passing of the moon. But then Warren Court, who many of you may know, he's an InsightLA practitioner and also a geologist. We were together and I showed him the rock and I asked him what it was. And he said that this rock is from when the Rocky Mountains were below the ocean, and they're sea creatures, they're ocean creatures. So there's something about this, like one of my favorite things that I own, and also that it's heavy and kind of cold and calming, uh, opens us, you know, me to a very big perspective. And then the other thing I brought was something that was given to me, by Keeling Rinpoche. I mean, not just to me, but it's the community. It's one of the community prayer books. Because I was reading last night, and you know, it's also like, you know, I don't know if you can see it, but you can see in the design and, you know, in the pictures inside that there was and the translation, a lot of care put into making this little book, for Rinpoche's community. And I was reading last night that, you know, in the Tibetan tradition, if a prayer book touches the floor, you know, you kind of kiss it, care for it. It's very considered very precious. Some of us have those book bags. And the reason that there are book bags isn't just to carry it, but it's also so that the book, you know, is cared for, doesn't touch the floor. You know, also, that was true of Jewish prayer books growing up. You know, if you dropped it on the floor, you kissed it and made nice, asked for forgiveness or something. But the reason I also thought about this last night, I was reading about, that in Tibetan Buddhism, the books of the teachings, the texts are considered so important that, you you don't even put a statue of a Buddha on top of a book. It's like the understanding being like you might have a relationship with the statue or not, but if you're really hearing the words of sacred texts in the Buddhist tradition, that you're communicating with the Buddha. Like that is the Buddha in real time. And I don't know, I found that really moving. And there is a prayer in here I did want to share. And because you know, we began by talking about that posture of confidence. And that confidence, in terms of mind qualities, it is associated with illumination, rightness, clear seeing, uh, kind of polishing the lens, so to speak, is associated with confidence, the life force, that energy. So one of the practices that I have found really helpful during hard times isn't one that we talk about a lot in, insight practice, although it is practiced. It's just not, you know, necessarily taught in a mindfulness class, is the practice of supplicating and asking for help. This is like really powerful practice. And that is that what I was, my way of experiencing that with the body is to feel my teacher's hands or the lineage hands on your back, that you're not isolated from your lineage. And this is a practice, it's a prayer, it's called calling on the Lama. And that was the other thing I was talking about before. The Lama, we can think of the teacher outside. That is amazing enough. There's a teacher out there. But what's really amazing is that we resonate with those teachings. There is something in our lineage that prepared us, even if we weren't aware of it, to be touched by these teachings. So this is the prayer. O Lama, it's a little dark, but O Lama, um, know me, care for me, be with me. From the blossoming lotus of devotion in the center of my heart, rise up, O compassionate Lama, my only refuge. It's kind of rising up, my only true refuge. Rise up, O compassionate Lama. I am plagued by past actions and turbulent emotion. To protect me in my misfortune, remain as the crown jewel ornament on the crown of my head. Remain as the jewel ornament on the crown of my head, the mandala of great bliss. Awaken all my mindfulness and awareness, I pray. So there's something about that calling on the lineage for help that I have found really helpful when things are hard. It's like before you open that door and like say, okay, I'm here, I'm going to help. When you're feeling really, I don't know if I can meet this moment, to just feel the power of that lineage behind you. One of the things I think about opening to a lineage can be problematic for people because we think, oh gosh, my lineage isn't really very good, or, I don't want, like my crazy family, really. But we forget that it's also our chosen lineage. And there is something in the past that brings us to this present moment. Something in our mind stream is really connected to the Dharma. There's something really comforting about that. I also think it opens us to vast experience of time, and that vastness opens us up to mystery. And there is something about the awe that we feel, the inspiration we feel from the mystery of the Dharma being transmitted through time. I had a friend who was an animator that made flip books, and you'd flip through and you'd see it all in continuity like a movie, but actually, it was one moment, one moment, one moment, one image. And there is something about opening to the lineage that opens us up to that more vast perspective of time and space. And that also can be comforting when things are really hard, that the universe is big enough to hold the intensity of how we feel. Um, One of the hard things I think that's to understand in Dharma practice is how resistance causes suffering. It's a second noble truth, the craving for things to be different than they are. Of course, we naturally feel that way. We so wish they were different. That's why it was hard for me to drive over here. I really do wish I had a magic wand or something beyond like the truth of the way things are. it doesn't mean that we won't be sad or we won't experience great loss. And it can sometimes be hard to understand why opening to the truth of the way things are is helpful. But one of the big reasons is because resistance is so painful. The ways that we resist, that we collapse, that we lash out. Um, so yeah, the truth of the way things are is that there is suffering in life. I shared the other day in class that I was once on retreat, a long retreat at IMS, and they have a 3-month retreat every year. They have had for over 40 years. And I used to go regularly to that retreat for 6 weeks of it. And there was a man and his wife were always there on retreat. And his name was Henry, and he was old, but we had the same North Face jacket actually, so and purple jacket, and I would see him walking around, and he was always in the Dharma hall, enthusiastic, happy student. And then one year, he raised his hand. They had like a ceremony at the end of the retreat where the youngest person and the oldest person would talk. So Henry was the oldest person, and I knew how old he was. That was the year before. And then the year I was, the following year, he raised his hand during a Q&A and said, I've always loved coming here. I love practicing. I love sitting. I love hiking. This is like my refuge place. And this year has been a really hard retreat for me. I'm old. It's uncomfortable to sit. It's hard for me to walk. All the things that I used to do, they're just, a problem now. And Guy Armstrong was the teacher, and he said, well, you might not like this advice, but this is what the advice of the Buddha, which is to reflect. I think it's reflect many times a day on what's known as the Five Remembrances. I am of the nature to grow old. I have not gone beyond aging, meaning my practice. I can't practice to go beyond aging. I am of the nature to get sick. I have not gone beyond illness. I'm the nature to die. I haven't gone beyond death. Everything I love in this life will someday be separated from me. And then the last one is my actions are the ground on which I stand. And I remember I was young at the time, it was many years ago, and I thought, God, you can't come up with something better than that. I was like, oh, I just felt so bad for Henry, this person that I loved. But as I've aged myself, I've found out that these teachings are happiness teachings. And that's how they're described. These are happiness teachings. And we were talking about it last week, and one of the students asked, well, why would that practice lead to happiness? And it's because, like right now, when we realize how precious life is, how vulnerable we are, and that it doesn't go on and on. We only have a limited amount of time. We remember how important our relationships are, that we want to leave the world as a friend. The Buddha taught that the whole path is friendship. And there's a saying, I think Sylvia Boorstein is the person who teaches this metta phrase, but I want to meet the moment as a friend. May I meet this moment as a friend? May I meet this person as a friend? And, as I got older and I thought about this teaching, I shifted it in my mind to, may I leave this moment as a friend? May I go to sleep at night with no regrets. May I practice sila, ethical behavior, wise speech, so that I can leave the world with no regrets. And, this is an ongoing practice. Yeah. I have some friends here who know me better than enough to know that this is a practice. I'm not saying that I have perfected it in any ways, but even in the limited amount of approaching life that way, um, I am happier and more peaceful. And um, there's more room for appreciation and kindness because I'm not constantly stirring up at the agitation in my mind through doing unskillful things, things that I do have enough common sense to regret. So, this is why this is a happiness practice. And there's something that kind of relates to that rock, and the vastness of time. I remember, when I was a little kid, like in elementary school and science class, we learned that the stars up in the sky are gone. They already died, but they're so far away that the light is still coming. And like that was like, wow. I mean, I don't know. Like there wasn't too much that registered in science for me, but that was like unbelievable. And then I heard BKS Iyengar say that it's like that with consciousness. Like long after we're gone, the our consciousness is like moving through the universe. So our actions, our speech, and our thoughts, and you don't know where they're going to land. You don't know where they're going to land, and that every mind moment, according to the Buddha, and this is a teaching from Utejaniya, every mind moment leaves a legacy. Every my moment leaves a legacy. And if we really care, which we do, we care very deeply about that legacy. It reminds us of the significance of our actions moment to moment. It leaves a legacy whether it's skillful or not. So we really want to kind of inspire ourselves to be skillful. So in Buddhism, according to the path, um, there are teachings on wise effort and what is skillful. Um, Another thing, I don't know why, because anger's on my mind, but he used to say, well, the story is that he was doing headstand at a like a Grand Canyon in India with his back to the canyon, and it was a very windy place. And they were doing a photo shoot. So after the photo shoot, this person I know asked him, he was a young man at the time, he said, like, how did you do that? And he said, known, unknown. It's like a little Zen answer, known, unknown. And what he meant was, he was referring to something that he often taught, which is that what we don't know is limitless. Like there is like so much that we don't know and don't understand. What we know is limited, and to focus on what you know. When you're faced with the abyss, focus on what you know. And that is actually the Buddhist teaching. Focus on the Eightfold Path. Focus on your ethical behavior, on clarifying your view, wise speech, wise action, training your mind. And in Buddhism, the key effort in the Eightfold Path is to speak, act, listen, do from a good heart, from good motivation, to let go of unwholesome, unskillful mind states, to prevent them from arising, to cultivate skillful mind states, and to sustain them. And this is the same in any situation. When there's a catastrophe, when it's good times, bad times, hard times, is to really think about the quality of our heart, what we're putting out in the universe. If we're compassionate, compassion exists in the universe. If we are truthful, then truth is there. So that is the legacy. That's our practice during these really difficult times. And of course, we wish we could do more, and we try to help wherever we can, but we want that relational quality of how we relate to ourselves and others to be loving and aware. And yeah, that's why it's helpful to reflect on the preciousness of our life, that it's not permanent, that there will be hard times, and that our practice will be the same. It's very simple. It kind of gives us like some kind of simplicity in the midst of big challenges. So I did say, for those of you who came later, that as I drove over here, I kind of thought to myself, there really are no words for, or what could, so I think it would be nice to do another practice period, actually. If you want to stand up and stretch, you can do that. So I just, wonder if anyone wants to share anything or any questions, comments. I know that there are people here who have lost homes, and yeah, just our hearts really go out to you and to the people on screen. Yeah, it's really hard. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I thank you so much for your talk. That was really beautiful. And I was inspired thinking about the way that you were talking about how our consciousness passes on. And it made me think almost like, after you pass on, there's kind of like an echo of your actions. Um, I heard once this kind of image of an apple tree and how, within the apple, yeah, there's all these seeds that will create more trees, but also those trees, when they create more apples, that apple is going to end up in someone's like apple pie and like another one like an applesauce of like a
Right.
chop. So it's kind of even like a broader scope of how um, the seed of one little action can like
Mm-hmm.
create some effect somewhere that you have no idea, if it's like a family having a apple pie, sharing a meal at a holiday, it's like that's so beautiful to think about from like one little seed, and so that's
Right.
happening on such a broad scope, and it's like thinking about our actions that way is really beautiful, and it's like it inspires me towards Sila and like what kind of echo I'd want to leave throughout the world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very profound, like view to see that our actions leave a legacy. Um, and the other teaching about like seeds and apples is you can't plant an apple seed and grow a mango tree. So, this is the teaching on intention. You can't intend to be peaceful after you scream at your neighbors and like there's this saying that I heard years ago. It's in under false Buddhist quotes, but it's attributed to like the Dalai Lama or something. It's not the Buddha. That there is no path to peace and happiness. Peace and happiness is the path. You can't practice in order to be kind. The practice is being kind. You can't practice in order, and you can get that impression from the word insight. Oh, when I have enough insights, I'll practice wise speech. But actually, the practice is practicing wise speech. And another way to think about it is to remember, that it leaves a legacy, but also that our actions, our speech, have a direction. So what's the destination of this email? Should I really press the send button and like have this one moment of feeling good about being cruel? Or, what is really the destination of that moment? So these are very helpful perspectives. Uh, and also, it's very helpful to connect with this is actually what I authentically want. Not being forced to practice wise speech. I really want peace of mind. It's like that's where that devotion comes from because, when it comes to a path, if a path isn't used, it grows, it overgrows or whatever. We have to it's like each step really trying to be on the path. And it's very simple um, to remember that. It's hard because one of the things that's really hard about that is that, in terms of intention, that's the seed. In terms of Buddhist teaching, karma is generated by intention. What is motivating you? So, a surgeon can cut you or, a murderer, right? It's not the cutting, it's the intention. And that's what creates karma. And so the intention is to not be cruel, to not have hatred, to practice loving kindness, to practice compassion, and to let go, to renunciate what gets in the way. And, we hear once enunciation, we think, oh, I'm not allowed to dance, I'm not allowed to drink. It's really not about that. It's about letting go of the mind states, because each mind states wants to live. So if you're angry, we want to keep, the anger wants to keep going. You want to fuel the fire. It's very hard to let go of that motivation, that urgency. But that, even though it may not feel pleasant, it's so beneficial. So beneficial to restrain ourselves from doing harm. Really, it really has remarkable effects on the heart and the mind when it comes to experiencing deeper levels of peace. Hi. I want to say your name because everybody has a name.
I'm Lisa, and what I noticed in the practice was how hard it was, or the way it was hard to feel confident
Mm-hmm.
and to feel confidence right now, and how important that is to cultivate, especially in the face of real suffering, and not in a kind of glib or cavalier way. But yeah, just so that was just something that really stuck with me of um yeah, to have confidence about recovery, or I don't know, but anyway, that
Yeah.
you.
And also that it's a moment to moment practice.
Yeah.
It's not like we have to have confidence, like, like to take
Like
on
in
like
an
the Olympics of confidence.
Yeah.
It's just like moment to
Right.
moment.
Like an outcome of confidence, but just like to meet,
Right.
bring that.
Yeah. There's in the morning we've been using a text, Tisha's slogans, Lojong slogans, and just as kind of reflections for the week. And one of this, there's 59, and maybe out of those, there'll be a few that really resonate with you. The one that really resonated with me, because I really didn't understand it, was always maintain a cheerful mind. Always maintain a cheerful mind. And, you know, maintain a cheerful mind. Cheerful. Yeah. One thing my teacher says, who, is Tibetan, he says to practice cheerishly. And that sort of started to help me understand it, because it's like a mix of cherish and cheerful. Like we're cheering ourselves up by remembering the power of the Dharma, the teachings, the people, like Mr. Rogers. I remember in the movie about him, he said, we're smiled into smiling, we're loved into loving. We're also like Dharma into Dharma-ing, whatever, that is a source of great cheer. And also that my teacher grew up as a nomad in Tibet. Like when you see those, big rosy cheeked kids leaning on the yaks and all that he grew up like that in a tent. And it was during the Cultural Revolution, and his teacher, he never went to a monastery. The teacher came and taught him in a tent. And I got a sense from talking to him about all of that, is that keeping confidence, cheerfulness, like a good outlet in very harsh circumstances, it can be the difference between life and death. We think of, when you think of being cheerful or happy, the image that always comes to mind is like a billboard on Sunset Boulevard. Oh, I have great teeth. I'm sitting next to somebody with great teeth in this bar, and life is great. But that is not actually the cheerfulness that it's talking about. To maintain a cheerful mind, it means to have a perspective of authentic appreciation and inspiration from the teachings, which are so profound, and yeah, and in all the beautiful ways that they're expressed. The other thing that Kilren Rinpoche says that I think is really cool is that everybody has their own lineage. We have things in common, but we also are very unique and have unique contributions to make, unique ways of expressing the Dharma. And, that authentic resonance, just to be more yourself, actually. It's a big permission to just to be heartfelt and real. And that is paradoxically, in these crazy, shattering experiences like we're having, that actually does, people are more authentic, more available, not so busy that we remember how important we are to each other. That our cheerfulness, our encouragement can really, when somebody is really in despair, kind of carry them back. Because this is going to be going on for a long time. People are going to be rebuilding over long periods of time. So we want to keep that appreciation of that we have something to contribute, really alive for ourselves. So I don't know if there is time, but I don't know if there's any more questions or comments. Well, does anyone want to do a little more practice, or are we okay? So let's find a comfortable position. You can even lie down if you feel like it. Um, So one of the things that happens when we're shocked, I said there's like this brittleness or fracturing of all the different parts of ourselves, and we feel like we're overwhelmed and don't have anything to offer. And at that time, it's really self-compassion is a very important practice. Actually care for ourselves. So I'd like to do the practice of compassionate touch. I like to do this with our eyes closed so people can kind of feel comfortable. And the practice of self-compassion, compassionate touch, begins with acknowledging this is hard. This is hard. May I meet this difficulty, these challenges with kindness. So let's begin by placing a hand on our chest. Kind of gesture of being willing to be with the heart, supporting the heart. And as you place your hand on your chest, open to the sensations of touch. The language of the body. Softening your hand, maybe even feeling the rise and fall of your breath against your hand. And sometimes it can be helpful and to rock a little bit the body, like you're gently swaying and moving into wholeness. Now placing both hands on the chest, embracing all the different parts of yourself. Again, that image of watering a plant, offering kindness, feeling the body. And then releasing the hands and feeling the echo. There is any shift, kind of shimmering memory. Now placing a hand on your cheek, kind of cradling your face the way you might cradle the face of a pet or a child. Way of saying without words, I see you, I care about you, I'm here with you. And then placing both hands on your cheeks, kind of gesture of intimacy, a willingness to come close. Feeling sensations as an expression of compassion and warmth. Now releasing your hands and again feeling the legacy, the seed that was planted. And now stroking your arm with the opposite hand, most like you're petting a puppy or a kitten that's sitting on your lap. Rhythmic, reassuring, gentle. And then holding a finger or your thumb with your opposite fingers, the way a child holds a parent's hand. Kind of circle of connection. Now placing a hand on the belly and a hand on the chest. Way of embracing all the different parts of your being. Allowing the body to relax, to soften and open, to receive compassionate touch. Now releasing your hands and feeling the breath as a touch, a compassionate touch inside the body. The nourishment of the in-breath, the offering of the out-breath. Kind of mingling of the universal and the personal. Taking all the time you need for the heart to soften. And times this is described as a return to normalcy. A return to loving awareness. And when you're ready, you can take a few deeper breaths and gently open your eyes. So that practice of compassion and touch, we went through all a variety, but Actually, in real time during the day, you can find one that works for you. And just when things are hard, recognize this is hard and just give yourself a moment of support. We often, we're so drawn out to like the suffering in the world and our wish to help. But what happens is we start vibrating with it and suffering so much ourselves. So this is a way of kind of calming down before we, being more resourced. Um, I used to teach the mindful self-compassion program, and we have a lot of resistance to self-compassion for a variety of reasons, different for different people. It seems selfish, indulgent, not really helpful. But I heard this story about this mother that was in a grocery store shopping with a toddler, and the toddler was in the cart sitting there, and you know, she would go down like the cereal aisle and the kid would just start screaming. I want the sugar pops, I want this, I want that, and the mom would just, okay, so let's just end with offering some loving kindness. Remembering our confident posture, kind of beaming out of all the goodness that we want to share. May all beings everywhere know happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be safe and protected from inner and outer harm. May we meet the moment as a friend, and may we leave the moment as a friend. And all the beings that we meet on our life's path. Beings on the earth, beings in water, beings in the air, beings born and yet to be born. May all beings everywhere know the joy of a peaceful heart. So thanks, everybody. It's really glad I came and we could be together. And I hope I see you all again soon. Yeah, there's lots going on. So I always find uh, ways of participating and practicing together on the website. Yeah, wish, yeah.